von Nahre. Bitte begrüßt mit mir Nahre Soul. It's such a pleasure. What did we just hear? Please help us.
The Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin.
Wir haben Chopin gehört. Und sie als klassische Konzertpianistin vorzustellen, wäre Frevel. Sie ist Multimedia-Künstlerin. Diese Frau hat tatsächlich in ihrem Leben so sehr aufgeräumt, wie es Marie Kondo sonst nur in proppevollen Häusern schafft. Sie hat als klassische Pianistin tatsächlich gestartet, ist als Komponistin auch weltweit herumgekommen, hat die Juilliard School in New York abgeschlossen und hat sich dann das zu Herzen genommen, womit ich eingangs den tollen Götz Werner zitiert habe. Immer nur das machen, was man auch selbst denkt, nie das tun, was man nicht selbst denkt. Nahre, you have blown the boundaries of your profession as a componist and a musician because they didn't correspond to your nature. Yeah? So please tell us now what you became, what you are now.
Okay.
This is your stage.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'd like to just share a bit of my background. As do many musicians do, I started off at a very early age, at a very young age, and I stuck to a fairly disciplined course of study, which eventually led me to have a spot at the Juilliard School, where I studied piano performance. And throughout this time in conservatory and immediately after, I was always in an environment that was very competitive, that had a lot of pressure, and everyone was chasing after a career path that was at the very tip of the pyramid. And naturally, because of that, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be the best. And in school, we always focus on the craft itself, refining our skills as a musician. Of course, that was our priority. And yet, we weren't given so many tools to figure out how to apply that skill and turn it into a career in real life. So we had all this passion, all this drive, but it was mixed with a lot of confusion and uncertainty for the future. But without thinking too much, I stuck to this path, and I stuck to this course, and I tried to change parts of my personality, parts of the way I worked, to try to fit into this mold, because that was what I was told that was required to succeed. And increasingly so, I became quite anxious and quite obsessed with certain details, quite unhappy with my work. I was constantly being criticized for not being focused. I had a lack of discipline because I had a variety of interests, not just piano. I was interested in photography and visual arts and composition. And as my work became more athletic, I felt a big part of me felt a resistance to the type of work I was doing. And it really scared me when I reached a point where I felt a sense of dread whenever I was near a piano, whenever I was near a stage. And I remember at a certain point while preparing for a piano competition where I was supposed to perform a lot of Chopin, I told a very good friend of mine, you know, I really never want to play Chopin again. I was so stressed, and that really shocked me. So there and after, I decided that I would take a hiatus. I would take a break, and I left conservatory for 1 year, and I pursued a completely different path. I freelanced in the world of photography and graphic design while living in New York City. And this period of time was very scary for me because I was new to that field. I was working with new people, but it was also very exciting. I was acquiring new skills. And it also gave me an opportunity to look at the situation I was in beforehand with a completely new perspective. I could zoom out and have a little more clarity. I also started missing music, of course, and eventually I decided to return. And this time I was determined to find a different approach to the way I did music and the way I studied. Unfortunately, when I returned, I was denied a position back into the studio that I was previously studying in, which made me feel quite vulnerable as a musician. But at the same time, it was a wonderful opportunity for me to start from scratch. I could start from a place where I followed my intuition in terms of what I was genuinely interested in and curious about at the piano. So I started to build my own curriculum, and while doing so, just because I'm a part of this generation, to handle cameras and to document oneself is quite natural. And so that's what I did. I put up cameras around the piano, and I started to document all the different parts of my practice when I was discovering new genres, discovering new ways to practice, things like that. And I started to share it online and started to grow an audience all over the world. And this was quite new and quite fascinating for me, but my favorite part of it was that I was able to be very creative with this, and I was able to combine the world of photography with the world of music, and it felt like I was in the playground. So at this point, I'd like to share with you a few short clips of some animations that I did during this period, and the third clip that you'll see is one that's more recent. So there's actually a clip, two clips there that I did not see, but I'll just explain it to you. For example, I would take food, or in this case, I had a corn, and I would do stop motion photography that would match different frames. Each time a bit of corn was bitten off, I applied that to music. So I just played around. Nothing really made sense, but I was sharing it online, and people started to catch on, and they embraced this sense of exploration and experimentation, and this just playfulness. And I was very grateful to start to be in touch with people from all over the world. And not only was I sharing bits of my performance, what would normally be presented on stage, but I was also sharing the backstory, what happened behind the scenes, in the practice room, some bits of psychology behind it, the different interests that I have that is not only music and not only classical music, but breaking different boundaries. So today I'm very, very, very lucky to be able to say that I'm a musician working in a field that combines all of these. All of my different projects have some form of music, visual arts, and that's only possible today because technology and social media and the internet enables me to do so. So it's quite exciting. I feel very honored to be sharing this with you all today, and to be honest, I'm just excited for all of us to use the potential possibilities of what's being developed today to continue to make great things in the future. So thank you so much.